I think if you go into this and if you're not a Trekkie, you'll love this movie. If you're a Trekkie and you're that married to Star Trek, and I mean this movie does commit in the second half some horrible mistakes, but not enough to take away from the enjoyment of the movie. But there are some really bad decisions made in the second half of this film. You're just like, you really wanted to go down that road. And I'm not talking about as a Trekkie, I'm just as a movie fan. I mean, the gold standard has always been Nicholas Meyer's The Wrath of Khan. It doesn't get much better than that. And when you copy scenes from that, it's troublesome, but not enough to take my enjoyment. I think this is a fine film. It's a lot of fun. It's very entertaining. I like what J.J. Abrams did, although in 3D the lens flare is goddamn obvious. If I had a drinking game of every time there was lens flare, I would have passed out by 25-minute mark.
Can you imagine what the lightsabers are going to look like in the next Star Wars?
I think he's got his work cut out for him. Because as Jen Chaney, who writes for the Washington Post, pointed out, the reason that his Star Trek works so well is because he incorporated so much of Star Wars in it. He's not a Star Trek fan at all. He admits to this. I mean, he says, it was too philosophical for me growing up. He's like, I didn't really care that much for it. And he has his work cut out for Star Wars, because Star Wars is sort of in the same territory I think that Star Trek was in. It's been cannibalized and commercialized so much of these books, these comics, TV shows, everything. He has to rein it in and figure out what he's going to, can he make this work? Because
his job is the same. His job is the same. I mean, essentially, he has to revitalize a franchise that people are a little bit sour on. Because of the previous installments.
Well, the previous installments. Not only that, there's a bigger thing with Lucas though, because Lucas, he's brilliant. He came up with this property and it's great and everything, but he keeps changing his thing. Oh, it's about the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker, and then no, it's not. It's just this 9-part, 12-part. It goes back and forth. He can't make up his mind what it is. But having said all that, I think what Abrams has to do. And I don't know if he can do it. It's a gamble. This is a thing that Star Wars had the luxury of being special for a very long time, before 1999, because everyone was just so in awe of it. And then that Phantom Menace came out, and the luster slowly started to peel away.
Well, here's the big question. Because I saw him, he was interviewed on Howard Stern, J.J. Abrams. He goes to Howard Stern before every movie he does because they like each other, and he's really good on Howard Stern. The big problem is J.J. Abrams said, look, I adore Star Wars. Star Wars, like a lot of people, it changed my life. He said, when you sat in that theater in that first shot of the huge, never-ending ship flying overhead and the rumble in the seats, and it really made you feel like you were experiencing the magic of movies, the transportive power of movies for the first time in your life. He says, that's what I'm looking to recreate. Now, Star Wars set in motion the spectacle, the special effects, the kind of otherworldly experience, and now I think definitely we're so numb to it. Can a movie do that to us again? Even children.
I'm not sure that it can. I don't think so. Not with just a single shot, or whatever. I just don't think so. There was that article that was done, interview done by Dennis Muren, the Oscar-winning special effects guy, who worked on some Star Wars movies, who said that special effects aren't special anymore.
Right.
And that's true. They're not. They're just a lot of noise, and nothing really amazes us, really.
But do you think that, obviously there are still children out there that see movies like when we saw the movies as kids that really changed our lives. Obviously, there are kids that will watch movies and feel the same way, like that first movie that grabs them and makes them realize, maybe they start their own dream of being in movies.
Well, I think that's true. I think there's always going to be, obviously, there's always going to be kids, hitting 10, 12, 13, up until 15, 16, who are going to be seeing movies like that and are going to have their eyes blown out of their heads.
Which I think is wonderful, but that's one of the drawbacks of the new Star Wars trilogy, in that it was made specifically for that target audience of under teens, to the exclusion of adults. And I never felt that the original Star Wars trilogy excluded adults in that way.
No, and I don't think Lucas thought that the new ones would either, but he was repudiated in that way. Let me say this though, there's a bigger thing that the Wrap brought out last week, is that Abrams had soured on Star Trek because he couldn't. There's a merchandising thing that he wanted to incorporate in the Star Trek he couldn't do because CBS owns the rights to the original Star Trek, the TV series. So he has this grand plan that he wanted to do with Star Trek he could not do because of rights. But with Kathleen Kennedy and Lucas and Disney, he'll be able to do that with Star Wars. I mean, J.J. Abrams may be the direct descendant of George Lucas. I think he thinks he's going to be on for all three movies.
Well, possibly. But originally he wasn't going to do Star Wars because he didn't want to even think about it, and they kept coming back to him over and over and over again. And he finally took the meeting, and he got so excited by talking to Kathleen Kennedy that he went to his wife and said, look, I'm afraid to turn this down. And she said, I know that we're going to take a vacation and that kind of thing with the family, but you're going to regret it the rest of your life if you don't take advantage of this opportunity. So she supported him. So I think his reasoning for doing it is pure. I really do.
Oh, I think so. But he wants
I think Disney, the Disney philosophy, I am sure, is let's use these movies to build an industry around it, and the industry around it will truly be the profitable part of it.
Oh, yeah. What is it? That Spielberg made a lot of his money from the rides and everything at Universal Studios.
Disney's smart.
Disney
has more, I think, billion-dollar grossers than any studio. I think I read. They're incredibly successful because they took, what a lot of people thought of as a gamble and bought Marvel. Now they've bought Star Wars. They're buying up the movies that audiences are flocking to.
Yeah, no, and don't forget Pirates of the Caribbean. That's an enormous cash cow.
Two of those over $1 billion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I cannot understand, but there you go. I find those
I can't either.
I really do.
People love those films.